Thank you for tuning in to V News. You're watching the bulletin. Let's take a look at our top stories. Party General Secretary met with voters in Hanoi. President welcomes Lao Prime Minister. Visiting Chinese Vice Premier attends friendship meeting. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng met with voters in Hanoi on July 18th to inform them of the outcomes of the National Assembly's 9th session and listen to their opinions.
Most of the voters spoke highly of the outcomes of the session, which focused on law building and measures that cabinet members gave during the question and answer session. They also voiced their concern about issues ranging from significant violations of law and corruption to distorted information in some social networks. Acknowledging voters' opinions, Party General Secretary Trọng said he highly valued those on improving productivity, fighting corruption and wastefulness, as well as resolving public debts. Regarding his recent visit to the United States, the party chief said this is a strategic issue in Vietnam's external relations with powerful countries. He stressed that Vietnam consistently pursues a foreign policy of peace, independence, self-reliance, diversification, and multilateralization of international relations, and maintenance of peaceful and stable environment for national development. The visit is a comprehensive success, manifesting Vietnam's status and political institution and the leadership role of the Communist Party of Vietnam, he noted. The voters highly appreciated the party chief's historic visit to the United States, which has lifted the comprehensive partnership between the two countries to a new height.
President Trương Tấn Sang has told Lao Prime Minister Thongsin Thamavong that Vietnam is always willing to assist and cooperate with Laos in socio-economic development and human resources training. At a reception for the Lao Prime Minister in Hanoi on July 18th, the President congratulated Laos for its high GDP growth over the past 5 years amid the difficult regional and world situation and the country's rising status in the global arena. He also thanked the Lao government for facilitating Vietnamese investment projects. The President vowed that Vietnam is ready to support and share experience with Laos in performing its role as the ASEAN chair for 2016. On his part, the Lao Prime Minister said he was impressed by the rapid growth in Vietnam's border localities, especially the improvement in living standards in remote and mountainous regions. The guest thanked Vietnam for effective help in socio-economic development, adding that he hopes Vietnam will continue aiding his country in human resources training to meet growth and integration demand. Later on the same day, the Lao Prime Minister left Hanoi, successfully concluding his 5-day visit to Vietnam. Chinese Vice Premier Zhang Gaoli attended a friendship meeting in Hanoi on July 18th as part of his ongoing visit to Vietnam. Speaking at the event, President of the Vietnam Union of Friendship Organizations Vũ Xuân Hồng highlighted the role of people's diplomacy in strengthening bilateral cooperation and the friendship between the two countries. Many participants who used to work and study in China shared their memories on their schools and teachers in China and recalled the support they received from Chinese schools and people during their stay. They expressed their wish that the Vietnam-China Comprehensive Strategic Cooperative Partnership will flourish in a stable and sustainable way. On his part, Vice Premier Zhang Gaoli said one of the objectives of his visit to Vietnam is expanding people-to-people contacts between the two nations. He stated that the friendship between Vietnam and China should be further reinforced and promoted, contributing to serving the national construction and development in each country. Over 203 million tons of goods passed through seaports nationwide in the first half of this year, reaching nearly 58% of the set plan for the year and representing a year-on-year increase of 10.4%. Seaports in the northern city of Hải Phòng, the southern province of Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu and Ho Chi Minh City witnessed the largest growth. They handled nearly 80% of the total goods volume in the period. Substantial increases in cargo throughput at Ho Chi Minh City seaports between January and June are attributed to the municipal authorities' efforts to pour more investment in building and upgrading transport infrastructure. Under a master plan for seaport development through 2020, with a vision towards 2030, Vietnam aims to increase the cargo throughput to 500 to 600 million tons per year by 2015, 900 to 1,100 million by 2020, and 2.1 billion by 2030. In the immediate future, priority will be given to developing several international standard deep-water seaports, including Lai Nguyen Port in Hai Phong City, Nghi Sơn Port in central Thanh Hóa Province, and Văn Phòng Port in southern Khánh Hòa Province. Nearly 3,000 businesses were set up during the first 10 days of implementing the 2014 enterprise law, with a total registered capital of almost $764 million. According to the Ministry of Planning and Investment, the figures represent an increase of over 69% in numbers and of 56.6% in capital. On average, each enterprise registered $262,200, up by 1.4% compared to the same period last year. However, the ministry remarked that individuals, businesses, and officials in charge of business registration in localities throughout the country still felt unsure about the implementation of the new regulations. The UK is a significant export market for Vietnamese shrimp products this year, since exports have grown rapidly rather than plummet like in other markets. We spoke to Vietnam Fisheries Association to find out more.
Between January and May, Vietnamese shrimp exports to the UK grew by 51% compared to the same period last year, generating $36.2 million. This is the highest growth observed among Vietnamese shrimp exporters from the European Union during the period under review. Meanwhile, other large importers, such as Germany and the Netherlands, recorded declines of 13% and 9% respectively. In May alone, Vietnam generated approximately $9.4 million from shrimp exports to the UK, twice the shrimp export turnover reported in April.
The possible impacts of the pending Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement on the Vietnamese economy are mapped out in a recent report. More details coming up next.
The report was released by the Central Institute for Economic Management in Hanoi on July 17th. The paper outlines two scenarios for the Vietnamese economy. The first scenario is that Vietnam will benefit from increased bilateral trade once the pact is finalized. However, the country's benefits will rely on the levels of tariff reduction agreed by involved parties. In the second scenario, Vietnamese exporters will face severe competition from their Chinese rivals when exporting garments, footwear and rice products to Japan and the Republic of Korea.
The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership represents a good opportunity for the Vietnamese economy. The parties to the agreement would represent a large common market which accounts for 30% of global GDP and global trade. The pact, along with the creation of an ASEAN community, lay a solid foundation for attracting investors, including those from the US and the EU.
Meanwhile, raw materials and semi-processed products make up a large proportion of Vietnamese exports. Experts said Vietnam's export structure closely resembles that of other participating countries, which was a large disadvantage, since Vietnamese exporters would be faced with its trading partners' stricter requirements. To this effect, Vietnam needs to take advantage of available opportunities, while overcoming the challenges that arise from the agreement. Experts said Vietnam should focus on importing advanced technologies to restructure its economy, while switching its growth model towards a knowledge-based and green economy.
It is easy to miss the Great House on Long Sơn Island on a visit to the southern province of Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu. However, it is absolutely worth the trip. Join us on a tour to this fascinating relic site. Long Son Great House is actually a complex of various ancient self-contained houses and buildings. It was built during the 1910s by Mr. Lê Văn Miu and was recognized as a national relic site more than 20 years ago. In 1910, Miu advocated for the construction of a temple and sanctum to worship Confucius. From then onwards, Miu passionately pushed for the construction of a range of buildings on the island. Miu never wore a shirt when he was working. As a result, his peers soon nicknamed him Trần, the Vietnamese term used for people stripped to the waist. Mr. Trần allocated plots of land and houses to the homeless and was highly appreciated for his generosity and caring nature.
Trong thực tế, ông đã dùng những cái lời.
True to the values of Buddhism, Mr. Trần educated local residents on the Buddhist philosophy and encouraged them to lead a peaceful life through his generosity and kindness. Trần faith was rooted in the moral values of Confucianism and Taoism.
Giáo lý của đạo Phật, sống thiện như thế nào?
Covering an area of more than 2 hectares, the Great House was constructed in the shape of a communal hall, which is a very popular architectural style in the northern region. The site is divided into 3 separate parts, which are situated throughout the property at random. The house of worship is the most important building in the complex. It was built on an area of 7,800 square meters and is used to worship Mr. Trần and his ancestors. The Great House is becoming an attractive destination for domestic and foreign tourists. On the 20th day of the second lunar month every year, a commemoration ceremony of Trần death anniversary is held, which attracts a large number of pilgrims from provinces all over South Vietnam.
Khi mà bước vào trong đây thì mình rất là thích.
I'm fascinated by the ancient architecture and the Long Son Great House complex. My visit has taught me more about local residents' way of life.
Cụ thể những cái sinh hoạt của ông bà ta hồi xưa như thế nào.
Tôi thấy ở đây có những cái nơi mà chứa thóc.
I have enjoyed exploring the ancient architecture of the Great House. I have learned a lot about the local residents and their daily lives. For example, local residents support those less fortunate by donating rice. This is a wonderful tradition.
Tôi thấy cái điều này là rất hay.
The Long Son Great House is not only an important cultural site in terms of its unique and artistic architecture, but also its historical religious significance. It is therefore an absolute must-see when visiting Vũng Tàu City. The Trần faith has been passed down from one generation to the next and has been carefully preserved over the last century. And that was the end of our news bulletin. Thank you for your attention. For more information, you can log on to our website at www.vietnamplus.vn. We'll see you soon.